Today we will continue our series on Campaign Cartographer 3. In fact, this is the last video with regards to map creation, and if you found this series useful, I would love to hear from you in the comment section below. I'll add one more video to this playlist a bit later, because I have a secret trick I want to share. Well, for this video, we will add what is currently missing on our map, like grasslands, meadows, natural features. We have to add some cities and some tech labels and much more stuff like that. As always, you don't have to take any notes. If you have not gotten it already, I suggest you download the full and free step-by-step guide that I have made available for you. There is a link somewhere here on the screen and also in the description field below. It's this exact guide that I use myself when I create these videos. So with that in hand and watching these videos in combination, you should no longer have any trouble in creating your maps in Campaign Cartographer 3. When I'm back, I will be sharing my desktop. See you in a second. Okay, welcome back into screen sharing. So this is where we left off last time with our map making. I left it like this on purpose this time, so you can see that the effects that we put around the mountains and the icy stuff doesn't quite look right, and I just did that because I wanted to remind you how to get your nice settings back. So over to the left, we click the Sheets and Effects, which bring up the Drawing Sheets and Effects wizard. And just remember to click the Activate Sheets and Effects. Click OK. Then the map redraws itself. And now all the effects are put in place again. So that was just a short reminder of something we covered in previous videos. Other than that, then we now have mountains, we have forests, we have placed ice, we know how to place deserts, we have rivers and lakes, and we have made effects on our coastlines to make them look more realistic as well. So for the most part, we really have a solid map now. Some of the things that we are missing is the parts that we are going to cover today, and by the end of today's video we are almost done. The first place I want you to go is up to the left corner, where we have something called default terrain. I right click that one, and that brings up a drawing tool. So inside this drawing tool, what you will see is that we have a number of different options for placing default terrain. So you have farmlands, you have fens, grasslands, meadows, marsh, all kinds of stuff. Now, you can play around with these as you want, but not all of them are really that functioning that well from my point of view. For example, the desert stuff, I don't quite like the way that looks like, so that's why I created my own process for deserts that I showed you in a previous video. Same thing goes for these evil lands. It looks quite strange. Well, just let us try and put it on just to show you. So I'll probably need to make it a bit bigger so you can see. And I'll just zoom in. See, I don't know about you, but this doesn't look good to me. If you like it, then great. Go ahead and use some of these options, but I usually don't. So I'll just go up here and undo again, which will remove what we did. That's it. Okay, so back to right-clicking default terrain. The same thing I would say for the forest parts. I like the method that I've showed you in the previous video much better, but you can try these out as well if you want. But let's say the stuff that could be working is actually, I think, usually the swamps, usually the marsh and meadows actually works out okay. So let's say for now that we want to add some meadows. So I'll left click meadows. And then I need to decide where I want meadows placed on my map. So to place meadows, we use the well-known method by now of clicking where we want to start. Let's say we want it up here. So I left click to start. I move around, left clicking a few inches or so. And once I come back to my starting point, I right click. That placed the meadows on my map. If I want to get rid of my cursor, just as we've done so many times by now, I right click and then my cursor becomes, I get my pointy arrow back. So let's go up again and select default terrain just to place another one so you can see what it looks like. And let's say we want some grasslands. So I left click grasslands and let's put them here, for example. So again, left click my starting point, left click a few inches or so, move around, and once I get back to my starting point, approximately at least, I right click, and that puts some grasslands on the map. Right click to get rid of it. I can zoom in on this area just to show you what it looks like. So that's what it looks like. I'll zoom out again. Now it's up to you how much of this terrain elements you want to add, but I truly advise you not to overdo it. A cluttered map is not a pretty one in my opinion. But let's leave it at this for now. So, and move into some finishing touches. Up here in the menu, you'll find a quick link that is called Natural Features. So we left click that one. Campaign Cartographer will now prompt us to ask for a catalog setting, and we always select CC3 Filled Natural. So I click that one. And what happened now is that over to the left, you can see that the symbol catalog have now changed. And now it shows a long list of different natural features. You have Arctic wastes, you have these kind of chasms that where the earth has been destroyed. And I'll just show you some more waterfalls, glaciers, oases, and then of course the sands that we used earlier on. So if you want to add any of these, let's say that we want to add a chasm here, and you can see that you have different options where the chasm goes in different directions, but I'll just pick this one for now and pull it onto my map. What I can do is right click again, make sure my proportions are right. I can scale it up or down. I put it at 0.5 here and click more, then you can see it gets much smaller. I can right click and put it at, for example, 2.5, click more, it becomes much bigger. I think I'm happy with the 1.0 size here for now. Okay, so for some reason there's a chasm there, and you can continue adding as many as you want or get rid of it by right clicking. Finish. That's it. So you can add what you want from this catalog as well. And again, just like with the default terrain, I think there is a point to be made about not overdoing it. But let's move on to structures. So in the top menu up here, we have structures. So I left click structures. And once again, I'm asked to define my catalog settings, which will be CC3 filled structures. Sorry. And now, once again, over to the left, it has now changed into a catalog of structures. You now can add cities as relevant, and just to show you again, there is a ton of options here with all kinds of different city types, from medieval cities with walls on it to ruined villages to hamlets to huts. There is castles, both fully castles and ruined castles. There's towers, there's mansions, there's bridges, churches, a pyramid, ancient cities. There's just so much in here. It's amazing. Asian types, classic city types, and there are some European village types and keeps. So yeah, you can go crazy with this stuff. Anyway, let's move back on the top of the list and place a few cities. So let's pick one which is standard city walled, and just like with the chasm before, you can right click, modify the sizes up and down as you please. I'll keep it at 1.0. So I'll click more and place a city over here. Then I'll right click and finish to get rid of that one option. And let's put a village as well. So let's say there's a village over there, and I right click, finish, and let's put a ruin as well down here. I guess for once that actually probably makes a bit of sense, that down between here, where it didn't make any sense that we put the desert and the ice between next to each other, but at least there is a ruined city in the sense that nobody wants to live there. So that makes a bit of sense to me. Okay. Anyway, there is a line of thinking to where to place your cities on a map, and I cover that much more in my book on fantasy map making. I'll put a link right here on the screen somewhere for you, so that you can learn more about that if you want. Now we should add some text labels to name these cities, and as we want to add text labels, we also want to have some effects on them. So the first place we want to go is to make a custom sheet for it. So over to the left, we select our Sheets and Effects option. And as always, we make sure that the Activate Sheets Effects has been ticked. Now on the left side here, we click Add. And now we are asked to name our new sheet. And I usually prefer to label this as map text. So I'll click OK. Now we make it actually automatically. Campaign Cartographer 3 will select your new sheet as you just created it, but you need to make sure that the tick is on it and not on something else, because now we want to add an effect to it. So we click Add, and then we select Glow. And now what this glow will do is it'll add a glow of color around your letters. So the question is really up to you. What kind of color do you want on your letters? And you can change this as much as you want. Sometimes I try out different versions to see which one I like the best. But let's say on our map here, we want a, should we say, red? And then click OK. And what we'll do in the settings for the color is that we will have the strength set to 1 and the blur to 1, and then we click OK. and we click OK again. Okay, where you want to just check now is that you can see up here on top that we actually have now changed onto a sheet called map text. So we are where we want to be. You can also see there is a color icon here. What this one tells you is what text your actual letters will be displayed in. So what we created before was the effect around the letters, whereas this one is telling us what color the actual letters will be. So you can click this one and you can select a different color if you want. I usually go with black, so let's put it to black and click OK. And again, up in the status bar, we're still on our sheet for map text, but you can now see that it's displaying that it will paint the letters, for a lack of better word, in black. The next place we want to go is over in our right hand menu. Over here we have something called text. So left click text, and then left clicking text brings up another widget. Now on this widget you can decide if you want to have your text as one line or multiple lines. So if you want to say this is a city, you'll need to have multiple lines selected. If you just want to have city A, then untick multiple lines and it'll just say city A. Now obviously you should come up with something a bit more clever than just naming your city City A, but I'll leave that to you to come up with some good names for your cities and places. Now click the button called Properties here, please. Inside here you can see that you can change the sizing of your letters. So you can, if you add this, or if you change this to 30 for example, the letters will become much bigger. Or if you change it to 10, they will become lower. I think it was on 18 when we started, so let's leave it there for now. You can experiment with this as much as you want. But I often find that the important map items has a height of 18. That's usually a good size. And then for lesser ones, I usually go with a height of 15. So depending on what you want to name, for example, your bigger cities should be 18, a small village should be 15. Also in here you have a ton of options to change the font. So go ahead and play with that and decide what you want there as well. Okay, so once we click OK out here, I have written city A, I click OK, and now you see I'm taking back to my map, and on my crosshair cursor the text is now displayed, and I can go ahead and add it. So let's say city A, I just left click and it places it on the map. A neat little trick is if you want to go ahead and add more text, what you can do now is just left click and it automatically brings you right back into the text wizard. So you don't have to go to the right hand menu and select it every time. You just left click. And we had a village, so village A, and let's try to change that to 15 then to show you. Click OK, click OK, and I'm taking back to the map and say this is village A. So you can see the difference in size. Now if we want the effects to stand out much more on the letters itself, what you can do is go back here, we can modify this one. So we are on the map text, we have the glow, we click edit, and let's just, for the fun of it, put 10 and 10. Click OK. Click OK. The map will now redraw. You see how the letters changed? Now it has a different effect. Let's go back once more. Click edit. Let's try a different color. Let's try yellow this time. Okay. I'll just stick with the 10 numbers we selected there. And again, they changed. So you can play a lot around with this. Up here on the top menu, we can also say, okay, I want the text to be red instead. And then now I won't be able to left click again to bring up my text wizard, simply because I chose my sheet and effects right before. So I have to go to the right hand side again, click text, and let's say test. Click OK. And now it's red. So you can make it exactly these labels exactly the way you want, with different colors of the letters and different effects on them. You can also add in or outer blurs if you want that in the sheets and effects, just like we did on some of the other sheet and effects elements that we created. It's really up to you how you want to play with this. So I think that's almost it. We have a very good solid map, fantasy map created now. Maybe the only thing we're missing is up on the left hand menu here, we have something called default road. Let's click that one. Right click. And you can see that it gives us some options to choose a major road, a double dash roads, or a default road. Let's left click major road. And then normally what I would do is I would zoom in on this part. Let's say we want the road to go from city A. So I would normally go and zoom in here so I can start the road in the right place. And roads basically it goes the same way as everything else. So you can left click every few inches or centimeters if you want the road to change direction. And then once I get to the point where I want it to end, I right click and it drew me a road. Right click to get rid of the crosshair. Go back and right click on default road. And let's just try the double dash one to show you what that looks like. I left click on that one and say that it continues on the other side of the lake here, or sorry, of the river, and goes to village A. And once I get to my endpoint, I right click again, and this looks much less like a main road. Right click to get rid of my crosshair, zoom out, and there you have it. A fully fledged fantasy map for your game setting or for your fantasy novel or whatever you need. Now there is one little neat trick left. I will save that one as a surprise video for the final video in the series, which will be the next one. So until then, I think you are good to go here. You have a fully fledged fantasy map that you can use for your gaming world or novel or wherever it is that you need it. So thank you so much for watching, and I truly hope that you have found this step-by-step approach very useful on how to use Campaign Cartographer 3. Thanks a lot, and see you next time.